In this country, there are millions of men who are either sufferers or survivors of prostate cancer. Now, I know that for most men it is a private and sensitive subject, but it is a subject that we need to know as much as we can about it. Now, whether you're trying to prevent it, whether you are just diagnosed with it, and someone is trying to comfort you with it, it's something that we cannot talk enough about. Now, in this segment, we're going to talk with someone who is an expert in this field. His name is Dr. Terry Mason, and he is a doctor at Mercy Hospital here in Chicago. Thank you for coming to the program, Dr. Mason.
Thank you for having me.
So nice to have you. As I said, it is a sensitive subject, and I feel, I wouldn't say awkward, but being a female, you know, it's kind of hard saying, you know, let's talk about prostate cancer, but it's my show. So what is the prostate gland? Let's talk about that first, so we can just have basic definition.
Well, I'm going to use my little chart here because I figured you'd start with that question.
Whew.
Okay? So I'm going to hold this about like this. And
I want to make sure everybody's shot in is I just want
to get it.
Okay, I just want to make sure we got the shot in.
Okay.
Don't have.
The prostate is a small gland that sits right at the bottom or the base of the bladder. And as you can see, as the urine comes out of the bladder, it actually has to flow through the prostate, out, down through the tube called the urethra that goes through the middle of the penis and out. Now what happens with men, usually somewhere around age 35 to 40, the prostate begins to undergo enlargement.
So that's normal?
That's normal.
Okay.
That the prostate enlarges is absolutely normal. And if it enlarges in such a way to stop or begin to restrict the flow of urine coming through it, that's what produces some of the symptoms of the guy notices that he's got to stand a little closer to the bowl or he's going to pee on the floor because the stream isn't as strong as it used to be. Okay. Or when he's got to go, he's got to go. Mm-hmm. Or when he does go, it doesn't feel like it came out. Or more importantly, he finds himself getting up 2, 3, 4 times or more at night. Those are caused most of the time not by cancer, but by a non-cancerous condition of the prostate. But the real function of the prostate is that 45% of the fluid that a man has when he has an orgasm, that comes out when he has an orgasm, it comes from the prostate. And then another 40%, there's a little organ right behind the prostate called the seminal vesicle, which is responsible for many things, but most importantly, it's responsible for the sugar called fructose. And that's an energy source that the sperm live, because the sperm can live up to 3 days in the vagina from intercourse. Mm-hmm. So, and that's because the energy comes from the sugar provided by the seminal vesicle. So the point I'm trying to make is that almost 95% of the fluid that comes out when a man has an orgasm comes from his prostate and seminal vesicles. Only 1.7 to 2.1% of the fluid that comes out when a man has an orgasm is actually sperm. It makes up the least amount of the fluid. That's why when you do a vasectomy, or when you cut the sperm tube right here, it doesn't change at all the amount of fluid that comes out when a man has an orgasm. Okay. There's just no sperm in it. And so all of this is made for reproduction. Okay. If you notice, when a man has an orgasm, the fluid that comes out is sort of thick. But if you let it sit on the, if you put it in the glass and let it sit on the table, it would actually turn almost to water, very clear, because the chemicals in the prostate actually help to break it down. So the prostate, the seminal vesicles, and all this machinery here is made for reproduction.
Okay. Now, we talked about how it works. What is happening when a cancer is, you know, what makes it become cancerous?
For some reason or another, and we're working on why that is so. Okay. But what happens is you get cancer is nothing more than uncontrolled cell growth. In other words, it's normal for cells, your skin cells die and they replace themselves, but there's an order to it. Okay. But if for some reason these cells start doing this in a very bizarre and haphazard way, the cells will start heaping up on top of one another and then invading other tissues. That's what cancer is caused by. Now, we don't know what the exact cause of cancer of the prostate is. But what we do know is that there are certain things that seem to make certain people, particularly African Americans, have more of it than everybody else. By the way, the highest incidence of prostate cancer now in the world is actually in Jamaican men. So African American men now are second, Jamaican men are first. But it's probably because of our diets, our lifestyles.
Okay.
We eat too much grease. We have too much fat in our diet. And we have too much saturated fat, which comes from animals. That is fried pork chops, fried bacon, hamburgers, Polish sausages, chicken that we fry. All these things that we fry and we get grease, and we love that greasy, drippy taste. That's where we're getting too much fat, and it's because of that we think that might be responsible for why there is so much cancer, not only just prostate cancer, but breast cancer, colon cancer in our community because of our dietary habit. Secondly, we don't eat enough fresh fruits and vegetables. And because we don't, we are having, there's a lot of things that happen in the bowel that are necessary in order for the chemicals or the toxins to be removed. And the reason why we suffer from so much constipation in our community because we don't eat right. We eat a lot of white bread, which does not have any fiber at all to it. We eat a lot of processed rices and things of that nature, which have very little fiber to it. And we don't eat enough fresh fruits and vegetables, and beans, which have a lot of fiber, which is what makes the stool able to come through. So these things make all the toxins. Since the stool doesn't come through at a fast enough pace, you ingest more of the toxins that you don't need, which then create an environment that makes the cancers make you more susceptible to breast, colon, lung, and cervical cancer.
Okay, and that was going to lead me to my next question, and that was with the diet. Was it just specifically for that type of cancer? As I said, this is a sensitive subject.
No, it really is. And lycopenes, let me just tell you, one of the things that we do know that helps men protect them against prostate cancer is a substance called lycopene. And lycopene is found in tomatoes. So tomatoes, whether it's whole fresh tomatoes or tomato sauce, has been found to actually help protect men against prostate cancer.
Oh, so like when you're eating spaghetti and stuff like that, I mean, with the tomato base in it, and that would be good. Now, does genetics play any part into this?
Genetics can, because there are certainly certain kinds of cancers that sometimes run in families. And prostate cancer is no exception. Neither is breast cancer. But if you've got a father or you've got an uncle or a grandfather who had prostate cancer, your likelihood of having prostate cancer is much higher. Now, the one thing I wanted to make a very important point about is that early prostate cancer doesn't produce any symptoms at all. Because we are people who think that if it doesn't hurt us, if we don't see blood, if we don't have pain, if something doesn't keep us from going to work, that everything is okay. And nothing could be further from the truth. And brothers have a tendency especially to take better care of their cars. They'll take the car in for every 3,000 miles to get the oil changed and spend whatever is necessary to do it, but won't take 5 minutes to come to the doctor and get themselves checked.
And the truth is that if detected early, the cancer is very curable.
Absolutely. And let me just show you why. I'll use this chart again. This is stage A of the cancer. And here you can see, I don't know how well this is going to project.
Is everything coming up okay? Yeah, it's a good shot. It's very good.
Right here you can see that this cancer is very, very early. Now you can see it's not big enough to cause any blockage of the flow of urine or anything. This cancer is the most curable form of the cancer, but it will produce absolutely no symptoms because it's not going to cause any blockage. It's not going to cause any bleeding. It's not going to cause any pain. That's why it's very important for men to go in and have a test called, it's a blood test, called a PSA. PSA stands for prostatic specific antigen. It's a chemical that's made only in the prostate, and we can measure it in the blood. And when there's too much of it, it suggests that there may be a cancer there.